Well, the worst thing is advice.
Okay.
Second worst thing is...
Can you go into that a bit more?
Yeah, like, well, here's what you need to do.
Mm.
You just need to get back out there. The best cure for one disease is another disease. You want to get over some girl, find another girl. That's horrible. But now it might be true. But I don't know if it's the right term. I've disempowered you. As soon as I start giving you advice, the inner message you receive is that I think you're not capable of working this out on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm either insulting you or I'm telling you you're really lost. I'm saying like, dude, you're pathetic. You can't handle this without my advice. So advice is really disabling, even if it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you ask me what to do, that's one thing. Now I got to test you a little bit. A lot of times when people say to me, seems like, what do you think I should do? I might say, you sound confused. I'm going to feed back. I'm not giving advice unless I'm 1,000% sure that you're actually asking me versus you're saying it rhetorically or you're trying to bounce things off me. But as a general rule, advice is really not helpful, even if it's completely accurate, because the message the other person receives doesn't empower them, doesn't make them stand up. So these skills are perishable. Emotional intelligence is nearly unlimited as long as you work at it, and it can diminish if you don't work at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on a suicide hotline for a year, making all my shifts, but not working at the skills. I'd be like Tiger Woods, only playing in tournaments, spending no time on a practice tees.
Mm-hmm.
None. So a year in, since I'm doing it constantly, and I figure, doing it's good enough to stay good at it, they bring me in for an annual evaluation. And at the end of the call, I didn't realize that I'd been given advice. And the caller congratulated me on how smart I was. And so I go back to the room to be evaluated by the supervisor. It was a great guy, sweetheart of a guy. We were good friends. And he says, that was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you didn't listen to my call. My call, I was so good, the guy congratulated me on the job I did. He goes, yeah, let's start with that. If he congratulated you, you did it and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as he gets off the phone, he's lost because he needs you for success. And you actually disabled him to some degree because he finished that call feeling less capable than he was when he went in, even though the stuff you said made sense. I'm like, but I've been online, I did my shifts. I've been doing this. Like, no, man, you did nothing to work at this and you steadily lost ground for a year. So while I'm fascinated by this overall, I also realize I got to practice because I hate leaving money on the table, and I do sometimes. I hate having a negative interaction with somebody I should have had a positive interaction with, and I do because I get in a bad mood or I overreact to somebody. But when I find myself doing that, I'm not above apologizing two out of three people an apology is a throwaway. But then also addressing whatever the issue was on how I got off track in the first place.
Okay. So if giving advice in those type of situations...
The original question, what are the bad things?
Disempowers people. What's the right thing to do? What's the way to empower people in such situations?
Well, first of all, if I'll say like, all right, so if you don't know what to do, you sound confused. Sounds like you got a lot of things rolling through your head and you're having trouble sorting them out. Those two statements are actually very specifically designed statements to help you clear your head. And each word is specifically chosen. Because then I become a sounding board which first of all, helping people talk things through, if they just get it out of their mouth and they say it out loud, they're like, oh, now that I've said it out loud, that does sound stupid. Or now that I've said it out loud, I can actually make sense of it. Because while the stuff is still contained in our brain, it's either really confusing because we're having trouble sorting it out, or the wrong answer seems to make a lot of sense. So you really need people, as soon as they start saying stuff out loud, automatically think better and clarify. And so that's the first part. Hear what you're saying off me. Just be a great sounding board. Now, the other thing is you sound confused. Actually deactivate your confusion because it's the observation of a negative state of mind. And the neuroscience backs this up. Any observation of a negative tends to deactivate it. Actually, more than tends to. It's almost a one-to-one correlation. Now, the degree of deactivation changes. But just the observation of a negative, and our brains are largely negative because that's survival mode, and every human being is wired to be overly negative because that's the wiring that we inherited universally. So as soon as we start to clear that up, we start to sort things out. So my first job is to deactivate your negative thoughts. And the most effective and enduring way to deactivate them is just call them out. You know, you sound concerned, you sound anxious, you sound upset, you sound confused.
Does the tone that's done in, I'm assuming that matters a lot because all of those statements, depending on the tone of voice, can vary in how it conveys and comes across to the other person. I can imagine all of those statements being made in a way that would disarm a person. And also in a way that would sound rather inflammatory.
Yeah. Tone is the Jedi secret. And I can offend you, or I can compliment you, or I can settle you out with the same words, all with different tones. And it's a neuroscience thing too. It's not psychology. So yes, tone makes all the difference in the world. Like I could say, you know, when we first started talking, you thought I was a liar. And my tone of voice says, you dumb MFer. You know, you're an idiot. And that's insulting. And I could say, when we first started talking, you thought I was a liar? Same words. Lands. And not offensive. And you go like, oh, ah. And then you might say, no, I didn't think you were a liar. It just it sounded so different to me. I didn't understand it. I didn't grasp. I wasn't thinking you're a liar, that your heart was in the wrong place. I was just so new to me.